My cousin 18F is being pushed into marrying a much older man, 43M, and she's too scared to refuse. For some context, she's still 17, but her 18th birthday is coming up this month, and her wedding is being planned for December. So, while the situation doesn't technically fall under child marriage, it still feels deeply disturbing. The thought of her, just barely an adult, being pushed into a marriage with someone who's more than twice her age is making me incredibly uneasy. My cousin comes from an extremely conservative household on my mom's side of the family. When I say conservative, I don't mean the kind of conservative where there are few religious traditions that are followed. This is much more extreme. My aunt and uncle are deeply rooted in their old world beliefs, and they've kept my cousin isolated from a lot of modern life. She isn't allowed to wear anything Western like jeans, and she can't even leave the house unless someone from her family goes with her. Talking to boys is completely out of the question. She's never had the opportunity to even make male friends. A couple of years ago, her parents pulled her out of school after she finished 10th grade, deciding that further education wasn't necessary for a girl like her. Instead, they expected her to learn how to manage household chores and prepare for marriage, which they see as her only future role. Last week, we visited their home, and during the visit, her parents casually announced that they were planning to marry her off after her 18th birthday. Hearing this made my stomach churn. I'm only 2 years older than she is, and I haven't even been in a relationship myself yet, so the idea of her being pushed into marriage felt wrong on so many levels. But things took a much darker turn when they revealed who they had chosen as her future husband, a 43-year-old widower from a neighboring village. Apparently, he owns a few mills and factories and is considered a man of good standing in the village. My aunt and uncle were practically bragging about how he's an honorable man who won't be demanding any dowry, which they saw as a positive. But all I could think about was the horrifying age difference. The idea of her being tied to someone who's old enough to be her father and who has lived a life completely separate from her experiences just made me feel sick. Later that day, I managed to pull my cousin aside to have a private conversation with her. She's always been a sweet and quiet girl, the kind of person who's soft-spoken and never the type to rebel against her parents. When I asked her how she felt about all this, she seemed really conflicted and afraid. At first, she tried to reassure me by saying that the man seemed kind and that he treated her with respect. But even as she said that, I could tell there was more she wasn't telling me. She's been so sheltered all her life that she doesn't really have any concept of what's out there in the world. She's never had a close relationship with a man, let alone any real experience with romantic relationships, so I don't even think she knows how to process what's happening to her. As our conversation continued, she finally admitted that she's scared. She told me that she feels powerless in this situation. She doesn't know how to oppose her parents' wishes, and to be honest, I don't think she would even try. She's the type of person who's always believed that her parents have her best interests at heart, even though they've kept her so sheltered and restricted her choices in life. She keeps telling herself that they must know what's best for her, and she's convinced that whatever happens will work out for the best. But I can't shake this awful feeling in my gut that she's being led down a path that she isn't prepared for, and worse, that she'll never be able to escape from it once she's locked into this marriage. The legal age for marriage in India is 18 for women and 21 for men, but things get tricky in rural areas like where my cousin lives. There's often a lot of corruption, and many times the police either don't care or turn a blind eye to these kinds of marriages, especially when influential families are involved. My uncle and this landowner both have connections in the village, so even though the law might be on our side, I don't have much faith that anyone would step in to help if things escalated. What's even more terrifying is that this situation has made me worry about my own future. My parents have already started hinting that I'm getting old enough to be married off myself. I'm only 20, but in their eyes, that's practically past due for a woman. I'm scared that if my cousin gets married off without anyone intervening, I might be next in line. I can't stop thinking about what this means for both of us. If she goes through with this, will I be pressured into a similar situation? I've been racking my brain trying to figure out how to help her, but I'm running out of ideas. She's too timid and soft-spoken to stand up to her parents, and I know from experience that reasoning with them won't work. They're set in their ways and believe that they're doing the right thing for her future, even though it feels so wrong. How can I get her out of this situation before it's too late? If I don't find a way, she's going to be married off to a man she doesn't truly know or love, and her entire life will be dictated by this decision. I'm reaching out because I feel completely trapped and unsure of what to do next. Any advice or insight would be greatly appreciated.